want to thank all those who have taken on officers' roles with which they may not be so familiar this morning, and realize that you too may be asked at the very last moment to be whatever. And this is the training that we gladly undertake here. Making mistakes is the most important part of our practice. So please let us thank those who have been doing that this morning and realize how important it is for you to be ready, even though no one has ever told you what to do. You find out. Yes? This is true for our lives, isn't it? We don't have a blueprint. We don't have a formula, Subhuti. So, today is April 5th, 2026. Easter Sunday. So many of our Sunday regulars are observing this with their families. Some may be on Zoom. Hi. But we are all here. We are all present. And that too is our practice, this interconnectedness. No matter where we are, no matter in what realm we may be, we have this shared experience that is far beyond any limited conceptions we may have of selfhood. On May 7th, 1958, Nyogen Senzaki passed away, and we'll hold his commemoration on Sunday, May 10th, which is also Mother's Day. Very appropriate for the founder of the Mentor Garden. Where is the Mentor Garden?
Here, right now.
Indeed. One of his undated teachings, I think, is perfect for this intersection of Passover, which started with the first Seder Wednesday, April 1st, and concludes after nightfall this Friday, April 9th. And Easter, which began with Palm Sunday last week, and continued with Holy Thursday and Good Friday, and culminates today. What are the themes? Well, Passover, certainly deliverance from bondage, and Easter, resurrection and redemption. We might say rebirth. We might say, switching around Dogen's title, death, life, and life, death. So with these themes, I want to read a few passages. Actually, before I read the Senzaki, let me read So in Nakagawa Roshi, because we are in this time of war, not only our involvement, Israel's involvement, bombing Iran, but there is war almost everywhere. We don't hear about many of them. But let me read from 1944. I think it's almost impossible for us to put ourselves in the bodies and minds of those who are fleeing and hiding from the bombs that are dropping right now. But here's what Soen Roshi wrote. Looking up and seeing a large formation of B-29s for the first time, he wrote this poem called Air Raid. Earth, water, fire, and air, bombing these four elements, form, feeling, thought, volition, and consciousness, annihilating these five skandhas. Sitting here, I hear a roar in winter's blue sky. 5, 6, planes go overhead, then 5, 6, 1. Sparkling stars in the daytime, darting like eyes. Those who fly the planes are light-haired strangers. The flashes, the blasts, the explosions come closer. An air raid on my self. And the following winter, he wrote a poem called Rebirth. Having survived the fire, leafless trees shiver under the dawn sky. A couple with a child pass through, burdened by unbearable anxiety about the day. Monks with begging bowls appear. 5 monks, 6, another group of 5, 7, 1. Flapping ink-black sleeves, stepping silently in straw sandals, absorbed in thought, gazing far beyond. Those who give are empty. Those who receive are empty. Offerings themselves are empty. Step by step they practice these 3 empty circles, chanting, ho, ho, ho. Thus the voice of Dharma fills the devastated city from one end to the other. All insects under the ground are awakened. All seeds nod to each other. And the capital, which disappeared like a dream, will again be born like a dream. So set forth the Prajna Paramita mantra. Set forth this mantra and say, Gate, gate, paragate, Parasamgate Bodhisvaha Prajna Paramita Sutra. Well, this teaching from Nyogen Senzaki, Soen Roshi's dear friend, I will read you from Namudai Bosa. There was a priest who was a close friend of Senzaki's, and he took five Zen students to the countryside. They walked in the woods, rode bicycles, swam, and danced in the moonlight. When the air became chilly and darkness descended, they lit lanterns and retired to a rustic shelter. In a cluster of pines facing a walled-in garden, they picnicked around a low wooden table next to a burning stove. When the water began to boil, it sounded like a soft breeze coming through the pine forest. The night was shadowy and still. My friend, the priest, turned to his hostess and asked her to bring him the largest bowl she had. She went to the kitchen and returned with a vegetable dish made of clay in the shape of a giant cup. Sitting at the head of the table, my friend looked out into the night, smiled a quiet smile to the guests, most of whom had been trained in ceremonial tea. One was even a teacher from Tokyo, and bowed. "I will now present a most presumptuous bowl of tea," he said. With precise gestures and a gentle elegance, he folded paper napkins and placed one in front of each person. The student next to him picked up her sandwich, breaking the bread into small pieces, which he passed around the table. With a simple but courtly grace, the priest picked up a tin spoon and scooped out 7 portions of powdered green tea. Then he poured boiling water into the bowl, whisked it until a jade green froth appeared on the surface. He turned the bowl twice, putting the most beautiful side away from himself and toward his guests, some of whom were old, some young, some Eastern, some Western, some Jewish, some Buddhist, and some Christian. Each, in his turn, took the bread and ate. Each one drank from the same cup. Then the priest began to chant, the soft tones of his voice flowing through the very bloodstreams of the assembled guests. At that moment, everybody was nobody, like the table, like the bowl and sky. A sip of Zen, a sip of tea, or was it wine and a wafer? And here's an Easter teaching from Senzaki's dear friend, Soen Roshi, also in Namudai Bosa. Everybody has the capacity the capacity, even the criminal in prison, to recognize this mind. And when the criminal recognizes this, he becomes immediately glad and full of joy. I know many examples. Even in prison, they got this. Of course, in this world, we must follow the law. When we don't, it may happen that we must be killed. All right. Even on the guillotine, the criminal's mind can be full of gratitude. It should be so. Full of gratitude. Without exception, each of us can become such a person, such a true man or woman, full of gratitude, even on the platform of the guillotine. Such a person we call Kanzeon Bodhisattva. To become this kind of person takes training. I am not yet fully trained either. So I am training myself every day with you, with your great help. Thank you very much. We are helping each other. I am reminded of Jesus Christ on the cross. When he was dying on the hill of Golgotha, one of the two criminals who were crucified with him said, "When you go to paradise, please remember me." He meant, after I am dead, please remember me and call me to paradise with you. Now, the standard translation of Jesus' answer is, "Today you will be in the kingdom with me." This means, after we have died on the cross, I will call you to paradise. Today means after we have died. But in the original, there is no today. Please check this. There are many translations. I have heard the Russian is the best. In the Russian translation, instead of today, we have a Russian word meaning approximately here now. Using this translation, Christ was saying, here now, you are in the midst of the kingdom. All right? He asks you, all right? So, in a session at Ryutakuji many years ago, Soen Roshi was abbot, and among the participants were the monk Edo Tai Shimano and two Americans, Philip Kaplow, who later founded Rochester Zen Center and compiled a book you know well,
Three Pillars of Zen.
3 Pillars of Zen. And the other American was Bernard Phillips. He was an American philosophy professor at Temple University who became one of the founding board members of the Zen Studies Society. And he compiled The Essentials of Zen Buddhism, an anthology of D.T. Suzuki's writings. Years later, Edo Roshi conveyed what happened with these 3 to us. and Kapleau conveyed it to his students. So here's the story. Soen Roshi summoned Kapleau and Phillips, and he asked them, what did Christ say when he was dying on the cross? The professor answered, well, he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Wasn't that it? Yes, Philip Kapleau agreed. Yes, that's right. He said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? No, Soen Roshi said. Again, he asked the question. Again, the two Americans gave the same answer, thinking the Roshi didn't know much about Christian theology. Again, Soen Roshi asked, and again, he said no. Finally, they were at their wits' end. And they asked Soen Roshi, well, then what did he say? Soen Roshi, my God! My God! Why hast thou forsaken me? Oh. These stories, all the koans, are live. They're lived and living expressions, all right? I heard this one once removed through Edo Roshi. Yet there is not a hair's breadth of separation. It reverberates. For you too, right? Were you there? Are we here? So it's not just a memory. It's not a mere repetition. We are always being invited in. Every moment. We may decide we don't want to go in. Too scary. And so what happens? We live our lives at a remove. We don't feel reborn. We feel dead. And no one can change that except we ourselves. And as I read earlier about Soen Roshi's deep, piercing awareness of the war, we too have this awareness at this time, this terrible time. We too may feel forsaken. We too may feel that our faith is shaken. We can't ignore the ways in which our nation has become more inhospitable, more people dragged away and incarcerated, families broken up, homes razed, famine, as wars rage around the globe. And as we Americans cannot avoid being incriminated. We may not be in a plane dropping bombs, but we are. I read a piece by Joan Halifax Roshi, founder of Upaya Zen Center in Lion's Roar, in which she spoke of the silent suffering of her father, a veteran of World War II. And it really brought me to very similar memory. My father was killed in battle in Germany just before World War II ended, when I was 1.5. And all around me, there were whispered conversations among my grandparents and aunts about those in the family who had perished in the Holocaust. And that was a kind of continuum. It was like this low-level horror. And when I was 4, my mother remarried to a brilliant but terribly disturbed artist who had returned from the war in the Pacific. And just as Joan wrote about her father, he could not speak about it. Everything was buried. And sometimes, often, in fact, he would erupt into violence. That buried state had nowhere else to go. So we walked on eggshells. And his psychic wounds wounded us all. This is happening. It's not just those who are fighting now. It is happening and has been happening for everyone. So I sent an appreciative email to Joan about her discernment in this piece that she wrote and about the parallel that I felt reading it. And she wrote back last night, "My dear friend, thank you for your kind words. You being in touch with me means so much to me. Yes, the wounds of war, the wounds of violence do not disappear. Not for my father, nor your stepfather, nor you, nor me. We should know better, but most of us humans do not. We are caught in the silence of the suffering of the past generation. And maybe this is what brought many of us to the Dharma, mostly unbeknownst to us. Dear one, I hope our paths cross again one day. Always when Kaz Tanahashi is here, we speak of you. You know that you are always welcome here. A deep bow of gratitude for our connection. Joan. She also wrote in that piece in Lions Roar something that I find myself saying quite often. In the face of suffering, there are two mistakes we can easily make. The first is to turn away. The second is to use spiritual practice to bypass what we are experiencing. Sometimes people imagine that spiritual maturity means appearing calm and untouched by suffering, a performance of equanimity. Wonderful. But true equanimity is not emotional anesthesia. Equanimity is the capacity to include everything into our experience without being hijacked by what we are encountering. Equanimity allows us to feel grief, fear, and anger without being suffocated by their grip. Equanimity allows us to respond rather than react. And it is true. Equanimity does not erase suffering, but it gives us the strength to come alongside it. I thought that was really very well put. And let me end with Soen Roshi again. This calligraphy is to know death prior to death. And we truly die to this long-cherished, cultivated self. Then death comes. Okay. True equanimity. And Soen Roshi, wrote in his journal of January 1976, 30 years after what I read you. Ascend to seek Bodhi, descend to guide sentient beings. That's a saying about what it is to be a bodhisattva. The path that goes up the mountain is the same path that goes down the mountain. When we want to guide sentient beings, we find that there are no sentient beings to guide. Remember the Diamond Sutra? Step after step is nothing but Namo Daibo Sa, Namo Daibo Sa. At last, on July 4th of this year, the bicentennial of the United States independence, International Daibosatsu Zendo will officially open in the state of New York, in the nation of Earth. And his poems, 2 poems now. Emerging Bodhisattva mountain, in this beautiful light, I shall dance the self of no self. And then the haiku. Ascend the hill, descend the hill, dragon spring.